Meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here with us this morning and every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So however you're connected with the show, thank you so much for hanging out here with us inside of these Cafe Kubal studios on mixlr.com, facebook.com, and youtube.com, all /wakeupcalldt. You can also find us on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and on facebook.com /livenowdt. As I said, the Cafe Kubal studios, Cafe Kubal here with you in our community on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, and you also find them and those are all in Syracuse. You also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners, and you'll find them at the 343 Fayette Street location in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building. So make sure you head out there today and continue to support local. I appreciate everybody that goes out and supports local. Can't thank you enough for all that you do to support the local community. So much love and much appreciation to all of you for going out and supporting the wonderful companies like Cafe Kubal that support us here in our community. So spread my love to each of them this holiday season and always. We got an awesome show set up for you here today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. 3 fantastic pieces to today's show, which I'm very excited about. We're going to start things off first and foremost with an opportunity to speak with Julian Whigham. Whigham's going to be joining me here in just a little bit to talk about a lot of cool connections he has to the bowl season for Syracuse and to recent history in bowl games for Syracuse. So we're going to have some fun with that here today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Very much looking forward to doing that. So Julian Whigham will be joining me on SU Bowl history, so we'll be able to do that together. And then 317 at Montgomery is going to have a special here with me, and we will be joined by Matt Gallagher once again. So a lot of great stuff coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, and I appreciate you being here. And we are now officially on facebook.com /wakeupcalldt. So we appreciate you being here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Once again, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. You'll also find them on 343 Fayette Street in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building, and that is there in Manlius, New York. And then you can find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out there today and show them some love to Cafe Kubal. Warm yourself up and get your favorite cup of coffee, as well as their chais and their teas. So many great things to offer. The only place I go for chai, and I'm a huge fan of their chai. So, and I mix it up with everything. When they have their summer flavor of lavender, which I love, lavender and vanilla. Now I'm pumpkin spicing it up. And a lot of great stuff there. Their spices and their syrups made in-house. Their coffee's obviously made here. So make sure you get out to Cafe Kubal today and support local. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we're going to start off the broadcast with Julian Whigham, Syracuse Orange football alum. We're going to have a great conversation because he has some really cool connections to what's going on with Syracuse with this bowl game. So in the last time the Syracuse played in the Pinstripe Bowl a decade ago, Julian Whigham was a part of the team. The last time Syracuse played Minnesota in a bowl game in 2013, Julian was a part of the team. So Julian's going to talk to us about the history of all that. He's going to bring us behind the scenes and give us a look at Syracuse football. Tell us things that we would not have any way of knowing if not for being connected with the team. So very excited to have those stories told with Julian Whigham. We're going to have some laughs, have some fun, as we always do, because Julian is a good friend, and I can't wait to share that with you. Then in hour number 2, around 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 317 at Montgomery, we were there last night for my first ever company Christmas party. Now, I do things for my business partners during Christmas time and holiday time, but this was our first ever Christmas party, so we got to make history having it at 317 at Montgomery Street. And I want to thank everybody that was able to make it, and I want to thank everybody that couldn't make it and sent their love and support and beautiful messages, we're going to share our first ever episode of our new series, Downtown with Dan, where I will be downtown exclusively at 317 at Montgomery Street, doing this Downtown with Dan video series, talking with owner Joel Carpenter, talking about the food, eating the food, having a great time. We did our inaugural episode during my Christmas party VIP event, and we're going to share that with you this morning. And it's you can hear us both, but it blocks out the sound around us, so you can see people clapping and people getting excited, but for some reason it muffles that when you're not close to the mic. So just so you know that when you see people clapping and you're like, where is that? Where's the sound on that? So I did catch that, but you're going to enjoy our conversation with Joel Carpenter for sure. And then Maine-Endwell just won back-to-back state titles for Class B here in New York State. They have 7 titles in their school history. Matt Gallagher, their head coach, is going to join the show. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about this season and all of the great things connected to it. Whether you're a Maine-Endwell fan or not, you're going to be a fan after this episode. So make sure you pay close attention to everything that's going on with Julian Whigham, our first ever Downtown with Dan video series jump off at 317 at Montgomery Street with Joel Carpenter and Matt Gallagher, Maine-Endwell head football coach, joining the broadcast. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. And when we spin back around here after this fast break and you hear from our great partners in the community, we will be up first with Julian Whigham here inside of the Cafe Football studios, where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Football offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafefootball.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Football needs. Cafe Football, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Football studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Cafe Football, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. For those of you seeing our picture-in-picture, Julian is going to have to regurgitate all of that at the end of the broadcast. He's going to tell you where Cafe Football is at and that you can go to cafefootball.com from wherever you are. So with that being said, very special broadcast as we are reliving the Pinstripe Bowl with someone who was a part of it, and that is Julian Whigham here with me. War number 21, my favorite number. Also war number 1, played cornerback for the Syracuse Orange and has a very nice jersey tribute behind him. And one of the 21 jerseys I actually have in my possession in my wall of fame, courtesy of Julian Whigham, former Syracuse cornerback on the team. So with that being said, Mr. Whigham, how are you, sir?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right. Syracuse made a bowl game. Season wasn't terrible. Hard to complain,
Yeah, the question that I do a piece of the show called Tortora and Alford, and Isaac brought up a really great point. And he said, a lot of people are complaining about Syracuse's season and saying, oh, it's just barely above 500 and, it's 7-5. It's not good. They shouldn't go to a bowl game. And Isaac said, if you told people at the beginning of the season that Syracuse was going to finish 7-5 and be bowl eligible, what do you think most people would say? And I said, I think most people would have been happy and probably would have left the team alone. So it's just kind of funny. And I want to get your thoughts on the juxtaposition of that people complain at the end of the season. However, if you told them at the beginning of the season it was going to be 7-5 in a bowl game, I think a lot of those people complaining right now probably would have been happy.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree. I think what we're seeing right now is, this team was 6-0 at one point, and then went ahead, lost 5 straight, and they finished against expectations. Once Syracuse got to that 5-0, 6-0 point, it's, oh man, are we back in the conversation for 9-10 wins? Are we up there for the ACC this year? And then when you finish 7-5, you're so far below the expectation, especially when you lose 5 straight. You end up in a situation where fans are saying, well, what happens to this team? We're not as good as we thought we were. And you almost are at that space where it's like you open up the season 0-5 and the interest in the season isn't there anymore. But had these losses been mixed across the season and this team ended up 7-5 against preseason expectations, this team outperformed, right? So, I think it's good that Syracuse went out the way they did to close the regular season, just because, we understand now that this defense needs to have defensive linemen, right? They've got to find bigger, thicker, stronger guys if this team's ever going to survive in the ACC. This team needs depth. Injuries, once again, have killed this football team. And we're in a position now where Syracuse has proven that they can compete in the ACC. It's just a matter of, one, finding depth and then finding size. And I think that's something that's been plaguing Syracuse for a really long time.
And you talk about that, finding depth and finding size, and 2 amazing points, very well taken, because they are true, right? The depth hasn't been there on the offensive and defensive line. You build your team from the trenches out. And so they have had help at the secondary. They've had help at the linebacker group. And Sean Tucker was a 4th-string running back a couple of years ago. And without Jarvion Howard and Abdul Adams opting out and Jawar Jordan Jr., without him getting injured, we don't see Sean Tucker. And I actually talked to Dino about this going into the game, and it was great to have the conversation with him about it as we head into this bowl game about, I call Sean the happy accident. Sean was ready, but he was 4th on the depth chart. So, looking at all of the things that have gone on where guys have been able to fill in well, the offensive and defensive line, which any good coach will tell you build from the inside out. If you want to win a championship, you build from the trenches. This offensive line has been held together by duct tape, and it's the same thing that we saw in parts of the defensive line. And, like you talk about, size is huge, because you look at those Notre Dame offensive linemen, and the funny thing is, if you go back to Syracuse's undefeated year of 1987 and you look at Syracuse's offensive linemen, they look like the offensive linemen of Notre Dame in 2022. So it's not like Syracuse can't get those guys. They just don't have them right now, or the guys haven't developed into that yet. And I'm not trying to knock any guys on the line, because there's a lot of guys that stepped in and did good things. And, Kayvon Darton on the other side, everybody wants to talk about how he's undersized 500 times a game, but that man played out of his mind this year in originally being a preferred walk-on. So, obviously depth and size are huge. From your perspective as a football player who knows the game so well, what do you see from the offensive and defensive line this season with Syracuse?
Yeah, I mean, I think the offensive line, if anything, has improved dramatically. I think they haven't been hit by injuries as much as they have been the last couple of years. I think Syracuse is going, 3-9, 3-9. Maybe had a 4-8 season before that, and a lot of that was because of the offensive line. They couldn't keep a quarterback upright. Guys were getting hurt. This offensive line couldn't allow any pass plays to develop. And I remember when I was, really covering the team, it was like it's terrible trying to cover them because you identified the reason why this team is struggling, and they continue to lose for the exact same reasons. So the offensive line, I think, is actually improved quite dramatically. In fact, I would give them the most improved award if you had to give that to any one position group. Maybe because they've just been healthy enough. They started to fall apart at the end of the year, but I think just about all of this team did. Second part, defensive line, I think that's part of the scheme. With a 3-5, you're going to rely on one person in the middle to clog up essentially two gaps, and that's difficult to do. What was his name? Slayton. Back in the day, he was like 2016, 2017, maybe even 2018, like all AC caliber player. He was fitting that role, and he was someone that was so dominant because he could do things like that. Syracuse doesn't have that right now, and it's frustrating because if they did, this defense would have been really good this year, and they won't be until they find that. You have to find that, massive 6'4", 300-pound plus just blob in the middle to take up space. Otherwise, you move that guy out of the way, and you've got 5'10" linebackers trying to make a tackle, right? And that's where I think Syracuse falls apart. And I think they've fallen apart. And I was really big on Marone when he came. That's why he was one of my favorite coaches coming in, at least part of his system, because he was an offensive line guy. He was a defensive line guy. He understood that Syracuse. I don't think Syracuse is ever going to be like a top 10, consistent 9 and 10 win season until the trenches is emphasized, until you're getting the guys out of the Midwest, until you're getting athletes with a 4-3 defense. Defensive ends out of Florida, wherever else out of the South, fat kids in the middle from Texas or something, whatever it is, until you find size, strength, and speed on the interior, I don't think Syracuse is going to get back to that point because you're always going to end up relying on athletes. And unfortunately, everyone else is relying on athletes, and everyone else can find better ones.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it comes down to it when you look at Syracuse here with Julian Whigham, Syracuse Orange cornerback alum here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of Cafe Football Studios. I mean, you look at the reality of everything that you're saying. It is there. You need to find those guys. And this is where my frustration comes in, because if you're not going to win the battles in Texas, and you're not going to win the battles in Florida, and you're not going to win the battles in Oklahoma and in California, and maybe in certain parts of Ohio and whatnot, and Illinois, then you have to start winning these battles in the Northeast. You have to win these battles over Maryland, over Rutgers, over BC, over Pitt, over Penn State. You have to start getting some of these guys to come your way, because I will defend this until I'm blue in the face. And I don't care what anybody says, because I have history and facts on my side. It's funny how we live in a world in 2022 where so many things are not based in any factual evidence, yet people so vehemently defend them. And the fact of the matter is, in this world that we live in right now, and in the world we lived in yesterday and 40 years and 80 years ago, 100 years ago, the Northeast had good caliber linemen that you can find in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. You can find them in these areas, and they're guys that are not going to be highly recruited. So Syracuse is not going to be going up against Florida State, going up against Notre Dame, going up against Ohio State, going up against California and UCLA and USC and Oregon and Texas and whatnot, Oklahoma. If you can find these diamonds in the rough, because there were so many guys, Blake Badnars, Turnell Sims, that 1987 team, John Flannery, those guys were not, I mean, they might have been recruited by a lot of places. I think Flannery definitely was. Turnell had a lot of opportunities as well, and I'm sure Blake Bednar's. But you look at these Northeast guys that want to play here. They've been in the snow. They've been in the trenches. They played in games where it's 2 degrees outside. They practiced multiple weeks in the snow. There's teams that won championships this year. West Genesee, I'm looking at you guys, Section 3 Class A, won the Section 3 Class A championship after starting the season 4 games on the road, couldn't play at home because they were upgrading and renovating their home field. So they had to play away from home. They had to practice in horrible conditions. The fields were atrocious. And then they end up winning a championship, their first one in 11 years. So, you look at what these guys go through, and I use that as an example to show all of the inclement weather and issues and things that they had to even practice in to be prepared. Because, yes, you're going to find offensive linemen in Ohio. Yeah, you're going to find them in Iowa. You're going to find them in Wisconsin. You're going to find them in Florida. You're going to find them in Texas. You're going to find them wherever. But the guys in the Northeast, they might only have Rutgers and Maryland and Syracuse and Penn State, right? Those might be their offers. Or they might have one of those or two of those. So we're talking about building this, and how do you build it? It's been proven historically that big-bodied, grizzly, angry mother-you-know-whatters are in the Northeast. And if Syracuse recruited this area, they can stand to gain somebody from New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, or Pennsylvania far better than fighting someone in Oklahoma or Ohio or Michigan to try and get one of their players.
Yeah, I agree. If you look back, Justin Pugh, for example, right? He's out of, I'm pretty sure he was in Pennsylvania. 3-star kid. I don't think he had that many offers. Yeah, these guys, they're not coming in with a ton of offers. Maybe he was a 2 or 3-star recruit. But you got a guy who is extremely smart, one, right? If I'm looking for a lineman, there's a prototype that I've found to be relatively successful. One, they're usually extremely smart, right? They pick up schemes, they understand and digest information quickly. 2, yes, they're a little bit angry, right? These are violent people. You want somebody with that streak in them. Someone that comes to mind, he didn't play for Syracuse. He's actually in the NFL now, but he was, as soon as I said that, lost the name. But he was a great guard at Notre Dame. He's playing for the Colts right now. I'm losing the name, but it doesn't matter. But he's a guy, you want that guy who can become a mauler, who wants to maul, who wants to be aggressive, who wants to go after people in their chest, right? And then 3, you've got someone on staff that can develop this, right? So when you have a great coach, for me, at the time, I'm drawing on my time with Marone. He was an excellent offensive line coach because he knew exactly how to get angry. He knew how to pull it. It almost scared me a few times, but he knew exactly how to get angry. He knew exactly how to coach the technique. And we ended up having a number of guys, whether they ended up in the NFL for a long time or just made it to camp. But the fact that guys were getting there and they were 2- and 3-star athletes when they were coming out of high school with 1 or 2 offers, most of them from like a Western Michigan or something, it tells you that 1, they figured out the type of guy they needed. And then 2, they developed them. And that was because Coach Marone knew exactly what to look for, right? So when you can identify these guys, especially if you're in the Northeast, you're not competing against an Ohio State or a Tennessee, but you're going against a Pittsburgh, a Maryland, a Penn State, or not even a Penn State, but a Boston College, typical teams in your area. This is where you can start to develop that talent. And we started to see that in Syracuse when we had that 8-4 season, right? Had Marone stay around a little bit longer, honestly, I think we continue to win games and progress because that formula was there, where there was an emphasis on the offensive and defensive line, and there was so much talent coming in and out of that door that I saw. It was all size and ability. There wasn't that much of an emphasis on the skill players that much. Yes, you want talent outside, but there you could tell Marone's interest was in the offensive and defensive lines. And I think once Syracuse figures that out again, they'll be a pretty good team consistently to the point where you may even see them in an ACC championship game or a New Year's Six bowl game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think the guy you were thinking about, because when you were saying it, this is the guy I thought it was Zach Martin.
Zach Martin, yes.
So he played in Notre Dame, born in Indianapolis, Indiana, and now with the Cowboys at guard. And literally in the Cowboys drafts, when they picked him up, that was like the beginning of the turnaround for the Cowboys, actually. So, yeah, I mean, listen, and we're not saying don't recruit the places that they have. We're not saying don't go to Chicago, Illinois, or places like that. It's just look to expand it here. Obviously, you need the help. And the other thing that I would talk about, and I got very animated about this, and I apologize because I think I got not apologize that I was passionate about it, but I don't want to witch hunt anybody. Strength and conditioning is huge. And my frustration is when you see a team consistently have guys injured, and if you see like consistent injuries at the same positions, then I start going to strength and conditioning and saying, okay, well, what are we not doing, or what are we doing too much of? What is happening that we need to adjust? Because Syracuse going, we would have a bad season, but we had so many injuries. That's cut and paste from Marone, cut and paste to Shave, cut and paste to Dino. I mean, you're talking 3 different coaches, different schemes, different coordinators, different ways of going about business, but the same issues. So, you have to look at strength and conditioning, and you have to beg the question of, what are you missing in nutrition? What are you missing in what you're doing workout-wise? Are you pushing the guys too much in these areas? Are you not pushing them enough here? And what are the guys behind these guys doing? Are they doing the same regimen? And we don't know because we're not on the inside. But I go to strength and conditioning when I feel like I've heard 9 years of, we got injured, because everybody gets injured.
Yeah, I mean, well, shoot. I could do this now because I don't do it anymore, so I'm very excited. But we don't know because maybe the journalism in Syracuse needs to get better. How about that? No, I mean, I would like my recommendation. I always do this whenever I do a show. So any young journalist that's in Syracuse, whether you're a new house or looking to do that and you're in high school, here's something for you. Yes, it would be interesting to go ahead and check out what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to Syracuse University nutrition. I point to nutrition first, right? And this is one because we all love Baby Doll, right? But I can tell you right now, our nutrition is nowhere near the caliber of a Georgia, right? I would go as far to say it's nowhere near what's a lower program than it? I would say Boston College probably has a better one. I don't think Syracuse has one of the better, if not average, nutrition programs in the ACC. Why is that? Maybe there isn't enough money. I highly doubt that, right? But for my time there are a number of guys. Call me one of them. I actually want to cut myself out because I'll counted this eating disorder. But there was a number of corners that came to Syracuse and remained 5'10", 175 pounds the entire 4 years they were there, right? Offensive linemen tend to get bigger, but they just eat anyway, right? But yeah, I do think that nutrition is probably a major factor in why you see injuries across the board, because I'm sure that hasn't changed. I know it hasn't because I know guys still complain about it. I do think that playing on turf probably has something to do with it. When you practice on it, when you play on it in a game, the effect it has on your joints is different. That has an effect versus playing on grass. I know that because when I grew up in Florida, played on grass. Never saw so many injuries, and I played with much more feeble children, right? And they seem to be fine. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of things. I'm not even trying to go after Syracuse and the nutrition program or the coaches. I love all the people that are in those departments, but it could be better. And it is 100% why you see that trend across a number of different coaches and regimes, because I think those things kind of have remained the same. Strength conditioning changed dramatically, I will say that. But I think because I know strength conditioning has changed, I will point to nutrition because I know that guys still complain about it, and that doesn't seem to be something that has changed that much.
Yeah, and you brought up turf, and Papa Joe, we do the show on Thursday together here on Wake Up Call, and we were talking about it. Playing on turf, it's weird for me to walk on turf. I'm a basketball player, played basketball all my life, and when I walked on turf for the first time, I was like, the hell is this? And I'm stepping into it, and you got the beads coming up and stuff getting in your socks, and it feels weird, and it's just kind of pressed, and it's just it's not. And you talk about the injuries. I mean, I'll never forget Jamal Anderson, right? He is in practice. He steps down in the turf, and his cleat gets caught, and his leg wants to go this way, and his knee wants to go the other way. He tears his ACL. He's out for the whole season. And how many times we talked about ACL tears and different things happening on turf. And so, it might look pretty, and it might be nice, this or whatever, but grass is grass. And there's a reason why God created grass and man created turf. And, turf is flawed. And it's not that it's not that it doesn't look nice. It's not like it's not appealing and this and that. But when you look at what it is and what it does, and it's called artificial for a reason. It's supposed to imitate something, but when we see these injuries and the types of injuries and like I said, the cleats getting caught and these different things happening and these non-contact injuries, then, it begs the question of, is grass really that bad? Yeah, okay, it rains. Yeah, okay, this happens. But at the end of the day, grass is meant to be there. Turf was put there, and there's just parts of being on turf, even if you're not a football player and you're just walking on it, there's things that I've stood there and said to myself, I didn't play D1 football, I played pickup games. And I'm looking at this going, yeah, I'd probably rather play on grass.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I remember when I came up as a freshman, and really even before freshman year, it came up during camp and practicing on Syracuse practice fields, going through like the little summer camps or whatever. And again, I grew up on grass. I prefer the smell of grass. Like it's just, for me, like that's football. Like, and that's just where I grew up. But yeah, there's definitely a different feel to it. There's a bounce to it. And when you're cutting and making all these changes, putting weight on one ankle or knee versus the other, there's a difference. And I like that it's been highlighted. Personally, when I was playing, I didn't care that much. Again, I wasn't someone that got hurt very often. At least not in a physical way where it had to do with your joints or anything like that. I don't think I had a real injury till my senior year. But the turf situation is definitely something. I don't see Syracuse changing that anytime soon. I think that's more of an adjustment thing. You're not going to keep it. I don't think many teams are going to change. It's just a money thing at this point, and a maintenance thing. But I definitely am sure it plays some part. What percentage? I'm not sure. Syracuse has been playing on the little AstroTurf now for I don't know how many years. So, when it comes to staying healthy, remaining healthy, I think your number one, same is weird. But two things that are most important, there we go, is just one, your nutrition, and then two, strength conditioning. And I think that it's just going to be a continued focus on figuring out individual players and knowing where their strengths and weaknesses are, who has more or less ankle flexibility, and then catering your workouts towards them. Like those are things that happen in the SEC, right? And while there are group emphasis, and I know this happens here because I know Coach E, man, he's a great guy, great coach. But I know that there are limitations that are facing Syracuse in particular that aren't happening to a number of other teams, specifically these great programs that I know guys and know about their program, what they do, that isn't happening. And that's part of the reason why you see things happen to Syracuse. It doesn't happen to many other teams. And it's just a matter of the investment in the program and continuing to find ways to improve, because I think Syracuse is still very far behind.
That coming from Julian Whigham, Syracuse Orange cornerback alum here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Football Studios. Julian, before I let you go, let's go back 10 years, 10-year anniversary since the 2012 Pinstripe Bowl that you were in, where Syracuse won over West Virginia 38-14 in Yankee Stadium. Now, a decade later, they're returning there in 2022. Let's go back in time. We'll jump in the DeLorean and do this thing like Doc Brown and Marty McFly. 38-14, the victory. Prince Tyson Gully went off in this game. Geno Smith looked awful. I believe you were the first defense he saw that whole dang season, and I said after this game, Geno Smith will be a very nice NFL wide receiver. Now, recently, he has made me eat my words, and I'm totally fine with it, that he has caught on in Seattle. But you guys exposed him defensively in that game, in the cold, against a hard-hitting, punch-you-in-the-mouth defense, a defense led by Scott Schaefer, a defense that wanted to show itself. You guys could run the ball, so it didn't matter it was 12 degrees outside and snowing. You could run the ball, play good defense. It was old Syracuse football, and you didn't just win. You blew him out. You made Geno look very uncomfortable. Stedman, Bailey, and company did not look like themselves. And you might have affected some draft stock of a lot of West Virginia Mountaineers. So bring me back to the game, and let me just say one more thing. West Virginia talks a lot, but if I remember correctly, Syracuse is this many and in the last 4 games played against West Virginia. Your thoughts?
Yeah. And
do they trash talk a lot? I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, playing West Virginia was probably one of my favorite experiences. Them and Louisville, because it was weird. Like, that was an actual rivalry game for Syracuse. I don't know if, and I think it actually is like by title, to fans, media, whatever. But that was like the only real rivalry game that kind of felt like back in high school days, or what you would imagine a Florida State or a Miami game would be like, because guys knew each other.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was a bunch of Florida State and Miami rejects. But it was a rivalry game in the sense that Coach Schaefer had a beef with Geno Smith because he wouldn't take a meeting with him. So, as Coach Schaefer is and a D coordinator, he wanted to blitz the hell out of that guy and put his shoulder in the dirt. Stedman Bailey and Tavon Austin were very close to. And I think Tavon was actually from Maryland, but somehow those guys were all close. Like Stedman Bailey had come from Miami, Darrell Estridge, Keon Lynn, all of those, Rashard Anderson, Richie Desir, just about our entire secondary was from Miami. They knew Stedman. They knew that receiving core. And those guys did not like each other. They were going back and forth all week. No one knows at the time, media-wise, because I don't think Instagram was really popping yet. But those guys were just going back and forth. Messages were ridiculous. And it was a genuine rivalry between receivers from West Virginia, defensive backs from Syracuse. There were guys on our defense across defensive line that didn't like guys on their offensive line because of the confrontation that they had before, right? So this entire game, it's in itself was one of the best rivalries or at least best games I'd ever been a part of, because people genuinely didn't like each other, at least not on the field. I'm sure they hung out in Miami together when they had free time, right? But on the field, it was like, I'm better than you. You're a clown, and I actually don't like you. And I loved when they went back and forth. In fact, part of me tried to for a little bit, right? But I got knocked out of that game. So I was thinking about I actually got a concussion. But that's how you know I didn't have any business in the snow. But it was one of those games where, guys are butting heads. Our coaches are fiery. Everyone was ready and jacked up to play in this game despite it being freezing. It was a point. This is a small story on top of that. But it was a point. I remember I actually fought Richard Desir that game. Like, everyone was so jacked up for this game that it was just anybody can catch hands, right? And it was a good fight. Like, we're fighting over what coverage we should play, right? Like, guys are fighting over how to improve, like a Nick Saban fight. But, that entire game, everyone was jacked up. They were excited. We knew we were going to beat them. And Coach Marone was amazing at instilling that confidence in us those 2 weeks prior, right? He was like, go have fun, enjoy the city. But he still reminded us about how to take pride in our craft on the field, how to believe in the scheme that we had. Coach Shake did a great job of keeping us fiery on defense. The hit tapes, always reminding Darrell that West Virginia didn't want him, going after Richie and telling him that they didn't even want to talk to him, or, all these little small things to keep guys motivated to go out there and prove something. And I thought that was great because Syracuse doesn't really have many games like that. Like, I think Boston College is a fake rivalry game. I don't think those guys actually dislike each other, right? But this game was one of those games where it was a genuine rivalry game. It was cold outside. We wanted to see guys lose money and lose draft stock. That was a genuine bulletin board material. If you're a first round pick, taking millions of dollars out of your pocket, right? Yeah. And then you're like, dang, we hang out. I kind of want you to have those millions of dollars to buy me some dinner. But it was one of those things where guys were really going after each other. And I never forget, I got my lone tackle in that game. I had two, but one tackle was on Tavon Austin. He was like, oh, shoot, I know you. You had all those highlights, right? He's like, yeah, son, get some now. And I think that's where I think that game for Syracuse was a great one, and I wish we got to build on that with Marone, because I think that team and the recruits that we plan to have could have been great, and I think Syracuse had a lot of momentum out of that.
Yeah, and I mean, and I appreciate that, and your candid ways here of presenting that, because there was so much to it. And, and I love the storytelling, right? And I love the relationship building, because you and I get to do it. Like you said, you challenge people to be better in the media and whatnot. I tell people all the time, I don't just feed myself. Apparently, I feed many families in the media, because they just go on my website, listen to my show, and write an article. So, and good for them. But I find that building the relationships is where it's most important. And if we didn't have the relationships, you and I aren't talking right now, and you're not going to tell these stories to other people. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit here and be like, man, I was fighting with Richie Desir. But I mean, there's so many great moments that I love when I'm sitting back just talking and just repping with somebody like yourself about these games, because these rivalries should exist, right? The Boston College, let me tell you something. I'm going to be very clear about this. I've been clear about this. I'm going to be clear about it again. I've been spit on. There's no place in the world for that. Okay, I'm a peaceful man, and in that moment, there's so many things that go through you. None of them feel good, but there's so many things. Like, you're like a peaceful Gandhi guy, and you're thinking about, I want a spear so I can chop this guy's head off. Like, there's something inside of you. So that in and of itself is wrong. The sucker punch BS is wrong. I think it's great that Syracuse brought the flag and tried to slam it in the ground in BC. I love stuff like that. I think that stuff should exist. As much as the Terrell Owens thing when he was at Dallas and he was playing for San Fran and he went to the middle of the field and he went like that, like, to me, and then Roy Williams just bum rushed him. Like, those moments are great. And you and I have talked about so many different moments, because you experienced so many different things at Syracuse, that going back to that Pinstripe Bowl game, I know you just painted a bunch of pictures, but bring me into the celebration. I know you said, obviously you got hurt, but bring me into the celebration of this game. Like, what do you remember? What are the things that people didn't know? Because, I'm watching the side of the field, and I was at both Pinstripe games. So I'm watching what's going on, and I'm watching guys and this and that coming on, coming off. I'm freezing my tail off. But I got to hear from you, like, bring me into the sideline, bring me into the after party. I want to know what life was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, this is going to be partly disappointing for you. I was very concussed.
So you remember nothing. So
no, I do remember some. So it was a mild one. So I actually came back. But it's just funny. Like, where was I? Like, I had a moment. Where was I? Like, oh yeah, I was in the training room with ice on my forehead. But yeah. So one, I could tell you. I remember, I don't remember the celebration on the field, unfortunately, because I wasn't actually on the field once the game was over. But I think I lasted up until like maybe end of the third, beginning of the fourth, whatever it was. And the excitement on the side, because I think we were already blowing them out, right? Tyson Gully was already, he knew he was going for a night. The excitement was already there. And then on top of that, when they got into the locker room, this is what I remember, is the locker room. Yeah. It was probably one of the biggest celebrations I had ever seen in, history of my time in Syracuse, right? It's something where coaches are genuinely proud of their team. Grown men with gray hair crying like babies, like they just won a championship. And I'm the biggest, hater of bowl games. I think they're one of the most meaningless games ever created, right? I personally would do away with them. I don't think they serve not one player on the field, right? Everyone else benefits but the players, even with NIL. Away from that, it was still really incredible to see the celebration that these guys had, and how much, and again, I'm watching this as if like, it was a bowl game that we didn't really win anything. This is me, this is, basically a journalist and a football player's body. I realized it didn't matter, but to watch this team celebrate and have such a, the genuine joy and excitement from capping a season, winning and being challenged so much for those couple of weeks by coaches, by rivals on the other team. It was winning in that way and going after those guys and knowing that, we just pulled up in front of all of our families in this freezing cold snow and beat their behind exactly how we planned to. And now we're going to celebrate on a town together. And that was really great. You know, I take a lot away from bowl games, but that moment was something that luckily I can still remember. And I think those guys will too. It's probably one of the best experiences I ever had in playing Syracuse football.
Yeah, you know, and it's awesome. I got to ask, did you play the West Virginia song in the locker room?
I don't think so. There was some alcohol involved. I remember that. I didn't get to participate, but I do remember the smell. So we had a good time. We had a good time, and I won't let too many details out. I don't want guys to get in trouble, you know, retroactive.
Statute of limitations is over. But I mean, you know, you look at this and I mean, you got to experience being a part of that, right? The last Pinstripe Bowl for Syracuse 10 years ago. And the last time Syracuse played Minnesota in a bowl game, and I know you got hurt that season, the following season, but in 2013 in the Texas Bowl. So you got to actually see the things that link the Pinstripe Bowl in Minnesota to Syracuse now, which is really cool. And, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? The fact that you are part of the last Pinstripe Bowl team, the last team to play Minnesota in a bowl game, and now we're going to see both of these things happen in the same game. Kind of ironic.
Yeah, I mean, dang, the more and more I talk and think about it, I'm like, why couldn't I stay healthy at the end of the season? Getting soft down here. But, yeah, so 2013, made the trip out. I remember I was again salty that I had to go. I genuinely did not want to go to Houston. I was like, Coach, please, I'm injured, quote unquote. But my mom encouraged me to go. Like, you should hang out with the team, yada yada. I was like, you know what, sure, why not? You know, free bowl gifts. So I went out, and Houston, we ended up, this game we were in the downtown section. The team itself, we weren't super excited about the area because we didn't have the bowl gifts like the Pinstripe Bowl, right? But we were, again, excited for our time out and the motivations that we had to win this game. I think someone on game day picked us to lose. I can't remember who it was, if it was Herb Street or whatever, but it was one of the few times I actually got to watch game day, which I thought was kind of cool. But I remember going down with the team, and then somebody was like, them MFers said we gonna lose, and they played the little video, and guys got hyped. Like, oh, you guys think we're losing to Minnesota? These clowns? So there was some animosity because we actually lost to them the year prior too. So guys remembered that, and there was again just building up this. No one thinks we can win. We're the underdog. We deserve to win this game. We're gonna come down here, win this game, and then get up out of here and go back to the crib, right? And I think guys were very motivated to prove that we weren't taking a step back as a program, that we can beat this Minnesota team, and that we are, you know, a good team that should have been picked to win. And that game, it was interesting because Brisley Esteen kind of pounced on the scene, right? He had the big punt return. And the biggest thing that I remember from that game is fans leaving. Fans left the stadium for the Minnesota game about end of the third. I want to say maybe even beginning of the fourth. Like the entire Syracuse crowd was leaving out. And that was the number one thing that rallied our team together because everyone was pissed. Like, dude, we were out here playing this damn bowl game, again, that we know does not matter, right? Like, we're playing a game because we love football, but we know, like, this is for y'all to make money and all this different stuff, but you guys come hang out and watch the game. But you guys going to leave? Y'all don't even believe in us? We out here playing this stupid game right now? Beat Minnesota, and it was honestly a great rallying point for Syracuse football because it was like, we know now that it's just us in this locker room. Like, the best lesson I learned really in life was from when we used to go out to Fort Drum. They would say, like, oh, yeah, you know, we have all these military days, and it's about, you know, everyone says about the flag, about the country. We fight for the guy right next to us. That is it. We're not fighting for a damn flag. We're not fighting for some clown at home drinking beer. We're not fighting for any of their freedoms, to be honest. We're fighting for the brother next to us, right? We value those things, but we're fighting for the guy next to us. And that was something I thought was really dope that carried over to us because it came out in that moment. Like Syracuse football, like we were had a beef with fans, our own fans. media. We had beef with the other team. It was just us. And I wish that mentality kind of stuck. Like, it's just us here, and this is it. This is the only people that actually care about you. Because in that moment, that's how we brought it back. Like that was the entire sideline. They don't care. They leaving. Man, F them. But it was about finally rallying together and winning. And then on the field, I was there and conscious to this one. But on the field, these guys were, once we won, it was nothing but celebration. Like, who can touch us, right? Like, we did it. We showed y'all. And it was just the elation of proving ourselves to a group of people that did not believe in us at all, and then celebrating with the people who did, right? Our own team, our own coaches. That's what really mattered. So again, I think that was probably the biggest moment. And that's something that I think kind of still sits with me to this day. I hope it sits with the guys I played with too. Like, I think that's a lot of good energy to have. Maybe not always, but these guys, it was a moment of, again, being the underdog and finally winning that battle. So, you know, there was a lot of little wins in that meaningless ass game, you know, but it was good for the program, good for the team. And again, as much as I didn't want to be there, one of the best experiences I ever had.
Yeah. Amazingly put, as you are so eloquent so many times with telling these stories and bringing me into a world and bringing listeners and viewers into this world that so few people know. And I feel that, and I sense that. And I don't catch anything from this, because I know when you're talking about the media and your beef with them, I'm always sitting back here going, I know that ain't me. So
no, you always support. So no pressure.
No, but that was the thing. Like, I love that. I will never forget these two moments. Trevor Cooney and Eric Dungy. Cooney was sitting in his locker one day, and he started laughing when they were interviewing him. There's like 10 people around, and there's a bunch of the usual suspects that write negative stuff. And he laughed. And they said, "Why are you laughing?" He goes, "I'm good." And he laughed again, and they're like, "No, seriously, why are you laughing?" He goes, "You want to know why I'm laughing?" He's like, he goes, "You know what? Whatever." He goes, "You can't write the story." He said, "You came here tonight. You had already written the story. You had already said we were going to lose. And now I'm laughing knowing that you can't write the story that you already wrote before you came here tonight." I'll never forget that. I wanted to hug him that day. And then I texted him when I left. And then Dungy, I was standing, he had all the cameras, everybody, I call it the beehive, and everybody was in his face. And I was off to the side of him. So if he's standing like this, I was right here. He looked right into the camera, and he said, like, something along the lines of, "We know we've been fighting, you all, like, we've been fighting everybody against it, but we've been fighting you too. We know you don't believe in us. We don't care, and we're going to win anyway." And I was just like, and I told him after all this time, I was like, "Eric," because I did a thing called Project Dungy, where his dad, bless him in heaven, his dad and his mom and his brother and sister all did this thing with me that he didn't know about. And then he got to do a thing after it, like a little rebuttal. And I told him, I said, "I don't know if you know this, but there were so many moments." I said, the media that you deal with, Eric, I deal with them too. And there were so many times where he had lifted me up, and I needed him to know that, because he was just crucified all the time, but you hear it about everybody. You're watching the game. It's, Whigham ain't this. He trash. He didn't do it. Why didn't he see that? Why didn't he pick up that play? I'm like, why don't you get on the damn field? Why don't you try to read that? See what the check down's doing. Understand that quarterback. Work in this movement of 50 miles an hour going this way while trying to get across the field. I mean, you try to do all these things that you're seeing on a slow motion replay on television. And understand, and I tell people this all the time, none of these guys are trying to lose. None of these guys are trying to give the game up. And the love and the appreciation and the brotherhood, you guys have let me be a part of this. You've let me come into that. I wasn't in the trenches with you, but you know this, and you should if you don't. But I know that you do, and you're probably going to smile when I say this. I wasn't on the sidelines with you guys, but I was up in the press box going, if I was on that sideline, I'd be bopping with the guys the same damn way. Because I constructively, wanted certain things to be better, but I talked to you that the way I want someone to talk to me.
I don't want somebody saying horrible stuff about me. And if they do, whatever, doesn't matter, because most of the time when somebody talks like that, they're uneducated, irrational, illogical, and they probably can't do what they're screaming about that somebody else can't do. But looking at, I mean, everything about every person that I've met in Syracuse, out of Syracuse, I want you guys to succeed. And in those moments, I'm like, type in, put my gloves on. Type in, put my gloves. I was freezing my butt off. And when y'all won it, I'm like standing up there with tears getting ready to come out of my eyes going, damn it, they did it. You know, they did it. And I know you say like this bowl because there's so many bowls and it's ridiculous how many get to play. But those moments when you guys did those things, I lived them with you. And all of you that know me, because I went down the line, I was naming off people on the roster, and I named like all the defensive players, and I was like, I feel like I'm just naming a guest list on my show. Y'all, like almost the whole team, if not the whole team, was on the show. And I would have loved to be with you, as you know, in games like that. And I said the same thing you said. I was like, who in their mother put us in the damn Texas Bowl against Minnesota? You took two teams that Texas does not give a hoot about and threw them in the middle of damn Texas in Houston at a game that nobody, I was like, I think there's going to be 14 people at this game. It's crazy. Like the Pinstripe Bowl makes sense, and I know people get mad because it's cold, but it makes a million times worth of sense. It does.
Right. And it's one of those things like, you know, if Syracuse ended up, again, it's just me, if Syracuse went 75, 8-4, and then they ended up in the Pinstripe Bowl, you know, every other year, cool, right? Because one, most of Syracuse graduates are somewhere in this area, in the city or wherever else anyway, right? So at least you got a little bit of fans, you can hang out. But when you end up in Houston of all places, it's like, well, what are we going to do down here? I mean, I think we ended up at a Jack in the Box for dinner because they gave us $100 to hang out with, right? So it's like, I would rather be with my family than do this. And then now you want me to go run into somebody for free at the time, right? So, it was a very random game. Some guys got up for it. I mean, the team won, but again, for me, the rallying point was, I remember of the 10 people that did come, 8 of them did left. And that was frustrating to see because they were wearing orange. And it's like, dang, if you bought a flight and left early, you have to be a clown. But and then just to the last point, I'll wrap this up because the boy done too. It's you know, sitting on this side, I did the media thing for a little while, probably as like a self-therapy for my football experience. And now I'm doing like the fan thing now. And like, I catch myself yelling at the kid, calling him terrible for 3 seconds. And I'm like, oh, come on, dude. And then it's like, you recognize it's all just emotional. No one actually means any of it. Right? Like I remember someone on Twitter one time said something honestly terrible about it. I'm not going to repeat it, but I favorited it, right? Just favorited it. I'm like, yeah, I want you to know I saw this. And then I was going to use it, you know, as locker material. The guy deletes it, and then he hits me up privately in his DMs like, hey, man, I didn't mean any of that. Like, you know, it was just, you know, heat of the game. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. But then I'm like, oh, I get it on the fan side. So it's very much emotional for everyone involved. And as a player, you just kind of have to recognize that, none of these people can do, you know, a quarter of the things that you can. They're just emotional, you know, fanatics that are riding a roller coaster of the experiences that you provide. So once guys become mature enough to understand that, it's like no pressure. There's no reason to be mad at them. It's cool to do and it feels great. Maybe it's motivational. But at the end of the day, nobody matters for the people in the field. Man in the arena at all times.
Yeah, I mean, you just hit 2 points that I use in my life every day. Fans versus fanatics. Fan will always support you, even if they're upset. A fanatic comes because their wife cheated on them and they have to scream at someone else for 3 hours. And then, like you said, always the man in the arena. I liken life to a football stadium, 70,000 people in the stands telling you how to do your job, and 22 people having the balls to actually do the job. So, I've been the man in the arena my whole life. You've been the man in the arena your whole life. We know what it's like to be out there. We know what it's like to be on the field of life. A lot of spectators, A lot of people trying to tell you how to live your life, but if you realize something, they all came there to see you talk on that stage, see you play on that field. So no matter what happens, you paid money to get my ticket. And as Dave Chappelle said it, he goes, he's like, I'm like Evel Knievel. I get paid for the attempt. So
exactly. That's the truth. I get paid for the attempt. Exactly. Exactly.
And you tell these, and those people that come out and try to come to a comedy club and bust somebody's balls. Listen, let me say something about those people. I'd be like, you know what, man? Come down here. Get on the stage. I want you to try and make somebody laugh. I give you 5 minutes to make somebody come up with a joke, because everybody wants to talk about. I do this all the time. Here, you got the microphone? Take it. You think you're better? Take it. Because nobody's going to walk me off the stage. But the reality of it all is you got to come to a part in your life, and I know it's hard to do, but you have to come to a part in your life where God matters, you matter, the people you love that love you back matter, and nothing else. That doesn't mean be mean to people. It doesn't mean disrespect people. It's just realizing if they don't sleep in the bed next to you, they're not having dinner with you, they're not the thing that you worship and get down on your knees for and pray about, they don't matter. They're just noise, and outside noise by definition belongs outside. There's a lot of music on the radio, but I choose what I listen to. And we need to start being like that with our mental, is realizing there's a lot of music trying to get in your ears, but you have to determine, just like a radio, what you're going to shut off, change, turn down, and then blare the heck up. Because I'm going to listen to Drake whenever I want to. But I'm going to turn down some of the other ones. I'm going to listen to Rick Ross, right? I thought Kanye's music was getting better, but now Kanye's getting a little bit crazy. So I got to turn it down a little bit, But, I was like, oh, he's going after Kim. He's making it fun. This is good. And then it's Kanye.
At the end of the day, it's always going to be Kanye. It's making the Yeezys hot right now, man. Those are one of my favorite shoes.
Yeah, well, I like his music. I like the song Cold. Some good stuff out there. But Drake,
Theraflu, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I like that. I like the Theraflu. There's been some good stuff, but I feel like if I live in the world of Rick Ross and Drake, I'm all right. I'm in a safe space.
Always. Luxurious rap right there.
Yeah, I'll never forget some of the lines that I can't say on the air in a family show that Ross says. But when I sit in a sauna or in a hot tub, there's one line that comes to mind, and I just can't get it out of my head. But I love it. And I'll say it off the air, but I'm not going to say it on the air because, Ross said it first and foremost. It was him that said it. But, there's just catchy lines that people have. Drake's got a lot of good ones, and there's some good lemon pepper wings at Pizza Man Pub here in Beeville. So respect. For Julian Whigham, myself, Dan Tortora, this has been a special on Wake Up Call. Mr. Whigham, as always, thank you not only for what you did on the field, but more than anything else, thank you for being a friend and somebody that I can say drove 6 hours to, and I quote, just come and see you, brother. And moments like that in my life, I will never forget. So thank you for that.
Anything for my guy. You know what it is.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. All right, and welcome here to our first Downtown with Dan. And is exclusive here at 317 at Montgomery, a restaurant whose name is their address. So it makes it very easy, 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. And I'm here with owner Joel Carpenter. We have a private event going on here tonight, which I'm very excited about, and our jump off. So got a lot of VIP guests here tonight. Joel, your thoughts on starting this partnership?
I'm excited. It's something like we've never done before. So, I've done multiple podcasts in the past, but it's something really unique. So we can, talk about a myriad of different things, right? We can talk about food, we can talk about life, we can talk about whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and we did a special menu tonight. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about what you put on the menu and just what everybody's getting to eat, because you and I have to do the show before we eat.
Right.
Isn't that right, though? The chef's supposed to eat last, and I guess the broadcaster eats last, too.
I guess.
So
let everybody know what's going on here
Yeah, so-
with what is on the menu.
So we did basically an array of appetizers. So our coconut shrimp with butternut squash sauce, duck confit poutine, the tomato tart, and pulled pork tacos.
And the pulled pork tacos, it's a close second to me, but the shrimp is number one. And you know that.
Yeah.
Because you know that you tried to take my plate a couple times.
Yes, yeah, and funny story about those. So when we change our menu seasonally, so we're coming up with the fall menu, and Natalie said, "I want to do a play on shrimp cocktail." I said, "Okay, we can do that." And she gave me her idea, and I looked at her, and I was like, "I don't think that's going to work."
Yeah.
And she's kind of staring back. I mean, I was like, let's try it and see. And this is what we came up with. It's unlike any shrimp cocktail I've ever had. And it's a hit. I mean, everybody who gets it loves it.
Yeah, it's definitely, I got shrimp cocktails as a kid. So I don't know if I told you the story, but when I was really, really little and my parents would take me to the restaurant, they would say, "What do you want?" or "What does he want?" And they would expect my parents to answer. And my mom would say, "Go ahead." And I would say shrimp cocktail. And the lady would kind of look at me like, "Really?" She's like, "That's what he asked for. Give it to him." So I've been ordering shrimp cocktails since I was like, I don't know, 4, 5. So this spin on it is incredible. So good. And I told you that I worked down at Disney, right? Disney World.
Right.
And one of the, there's a lot of reasons why I wanted to partner up with 317 at Montgomery. One of them being that the food to me, working at Disney, knowing the quality of our food and the experience of our food that we had down there, that I never saw anything like it in Syracuse, where you play it a certain way and nothing is completely like anything you would get anywhere else, which I think says a lot about your vision and your mission. And it's funny because when I was thinking about it, I thought about it's not just a restaurant, it's an experience. And then that was your answer that you gave when we were talking about it. So, I can tell you from the Disney service way and the Disney food way, that level that we had to hit, your short rib, as I told you before, is the only thing that made me think of Disney. So I wasn't allowing this to not happen, I guess.
Right. And I appreciate your tenacity on that. No, but I mean, it just makes sense. And we just want to reach as many people as possible, right? And, I just think that this is the right time to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. 317 at Montgomery here in Syracuse, New York, downtown Syracuse, and the inaugural episode of Downtown with Dan, as we have our VIP event. They're trying the food while we're talking about the food and everything that's coming up. You and I are going to talk about a lot of different things. What I like is I have a sports show called Wake Up Call, and I have an entertainment show called Superpower Pop. I have a Disney show called Do Diz with Dan, and we found out that not only do we both like sports, we also both like Marvel.
Indeed.
So I think, and I would love to do this, and I know I've said this before, this kind of putting you on the spot, but the herb chicken, I want to do a Wakandan herb chicken for Black Panther. I want to do a little spin on a few of these things because, when did you fall in love with Marvel? When did you start liking all that?
I mean, when I was a kid, I liked comic books. I wasn't like crazy and I didn't have like old editions or I'm mad at my mom because she didn't, keep them for me or anything. But I don't know. I liked Iron Man when it came out. And then, they started to obviously add more characters and Captain America. And I was a big Hulk fan when I was a kid. So that was kind of pre-MCU when Hulk came out. So I went and watched all those, or the Iron Man type deal.
Yeah, that's actually the goatee that I have is an ode to Tony Stark. And I play with it in a bunch of different ways. So it's connected now. I'll disconnect it. I'll make the shark fin sometimes. So and I got it right before, I think it was right before Endgame. So, and every April, around April 26th, I wish my goatee a happy anniversary.
Nice.
I say it's the best and longest relationship I've ever had. So my goatee is the go-to. I always say like happy anniversary to the real goat, but Yeah, it's an ode to Tony Stark, and I got to shout out Jay Cartini for my Iron Man watch that a lot of people compliment. So it fits my go-to.
Indeed.
So I got to get a Tesla at some point to continue the, that run toward Tony Stark. But I like my Honda, so I'm good with that. But no, a lot of great stuff coming up here, and you and I here in downtown with Dan, we get to talk about the sports here, which I'm excited about. And I know we got some people in the building. Brian and Stratton College of Syracuse, Lemoyne College, and Brian and Stratton literally right up James Street, walking distance from you. Lemoyne down the road, a few minutes away. And so, I mean, to you to know that you have these colleges so close, and that you've had the opportunity to be around some people tonight in our VIP event from that, just what that means to you to build up the Brian and Strattons and the Lemoynes of the world and their message and their student athletes and their coaches as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, we want to be part of the revitalization of Syracuse, right? And building relationships through events like this, and anything that we can do, any way we can help with sponsorships or anything like that. Obviously we want to be able to do that because the more people we reach, the more people we can sit down in our restaurant and that can experience what we put together here.
Yeah.
Right.
And we also you and I have talked about Syracuse as well. And you have your thoughts on basketball and football. You told me not to.
I don't want to piss anybody off.
You told me not to ask you, but yeah, I mean, this is a community, and high school wise as well. There's so much here, and so many teams that here in our community got to win sectionals, go to states. Last year, same type of thing. I've been very spoiled with the coaches that I know here in the community. So. I think, like you said, being part of the revitalization of Syracuse and Central Upstate New York, there's so many great athletes that don't get the credit they deserve, and there's coaches and programs as well. And I wear Upstate literally across my chest. Witty Wicks can vouch for that because they have Upstate hats and shirts, and I wear them all the time. They're actually my travel gear. So I got stopped in Disney. My dad can vouch for that. Got stopped in Disney. Somebody saw the Upstate, and they said, "Is that Upstate New York?" And we started a whole conversation about all the sports up here. So, this is a community filled with great high schools, great colleges, universities, a lot of opinions, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Blue collar, you get the salt of your people.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I love this town. I was born and raised. I grew up in Metro, just south of the city. I want to be part of it. I want to be part of making this place great again.
So to somebody here with Downtown with Dan, our inaugural episode, here at our private VIP event at 317 at Montgomery in downtown Syracuse, our downtown partner, before we get into something called Rapid Fire, which is going to put you and I on the hot seat. I love that Isaac laughed when I said it. There's always somebody that knows about it in the room. So Bob knows all about Rapid Fire too. Bob's been gentle. I don't know if Isaac's been gentle with Rapid Fire. And LJ and I, we've had some fun with that. Clay's had some good ones. Sean's had some good ones as well. Sean's, yeah. Your team was good. Your team was very philosophical and deep. Some of the other teams got me in trouble. But before we get into that, to someone who's never been to 317 at Montgomery, how would you describe what it's like to eat here and just experience here?
Well, we're trying to create an authentic experience when you walk through the door. So from the moment you walk through, we feel like it's an inviting space.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that, from the time you sit down to the time you leave, the service is bar none the best that you've ever had. And the food, we try and make sure that our food is eclectic, and unlike anything that you can find in the Syracuse area. So, we do research when we're walking, down the path of creating a new menu. I do a ton of research going into that, and we try and take things that are hot in, that season, and then we put our own spin on it. So being able to utilize the visualization of the dish paired with our service and how great it tastes after the fact. We kind of put all that together in one nice meeting.
You make it look so good that you don't want to touch it, but then you need to eat it and it tastes better than it looks. That's a hard thing to do. So we're going to play rapid fire now.
Okay.
You can ask me anything in the world. I can ask you anything in the world. It doesn't have to be sports restaurant could literally be about anything. Corley and I play this too, right? We've done this many a time. I think Corley and I think we might have asked each other the most questions because it's been 7 years, right?
Yeah, he did not prepare me for this, so this is great. Did not tell me this was happening.
And that's why it's called rapid fire. You're not supposed to know.
That's wonderful.
So we're gonna go back and forth.
Okay.
Here in downtown with Dan. You get to ask me the first question. It can be anything. First thing on your mind.
What's your favorite sports team?
Oh, what?
Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks. I wanted my own team. Fastest team to get to and win the World Series, 4 years.
Yeah, they'd be Cleveland Indians who are now the Guardians.
Yes.
That's great.
But I do have a soft spot for the Mets and the Yankees. Like, those are games I'm cool going to. I want to see the Mets do well, but there's no one in the NL West that I will ever root for. And Aaron Judge just better stay where he is, because if he goes to my division and not the Diamondbacks, then I might have to not like somebody I like a lot. So, all right, let's think here. Favorite dish you've ever made?
That's a tough one. Beef Wellington.
Beef Wellington? Ironically, that's something that I've never truly tried. I've tried like a spin-off of it, but I've never had a true beef Wellington. And every time you see it on TV, it's like so difficult for people to make it. But I love the texture of it, and so we're gonna have to do a beef Wellington.
Yeah, the reason why I made it was Gordon Ramsay said it took him like 20 some odd years to perfect his beef Wellington.
Yeah.
It was like,
I also learned from Gordon Ramsay that you never make scallops for him.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
never.
make them.
Yeah, if he walks in, never have scallops on there.
Yeah. All right, what's your second one?
What would be your last day? I'm heading off this planet. Your meal that you want to eat?
My death row meal?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough. My should night. So he's probably watching this in jail, and I'm gonna get in trouble.
He's definitely watching.
Sorry, Sean. Yeah, Tupac's still alive. So, my death row meal. That's a tough one. Oh man, gotta be rigot pie from my dad's mom, which I make now for holidays. Gotta be my stuffed shells from my mom's mom, my G mama. From my mom, it would have to be probably the turkey roll. She does like this mini Thanksgiving thing you can make anytime during the year. So I'd probably say that, and then something that I've made, I would say my nachos. I don't think anybody could beat my nachos at all. Yeah, it's hard to find good nachos, so I can make them at home. All right, Mike. So those are good ones. My second one for you. Okay, I'm going to do this because Natalie's in the room right now. Tell me 3 words to describe your fiance, and tell me 3 words that she would use to describe you.
So 3 words to describe her.
You're glistening right now.
Yeah, I'm sweating profusely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Caring,
Okay.
strong,
Okay.
innovative.
Okay. I like those. What 3 words would she use to describe you?
Stubborn.
I'm looking for nods.
Yeah. Hilarious.
She likes that too. Okay. You're 2-0.
What did I say? Stubborn and hilarious.
Stubborn and hilarious.
Caring.
Okay. Stubborn, hilarious, and caring. I like that. I'll ask Natalie off the air which one she would pick on the top one.
Yeah, stubborn, I guarantee that.
Okay. What's your next one for me? We'll do a few more apiece.
Okay. So you've been doing this
19 years.
19 years.
Over 19 years. November of 2003.
Good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of doing all of this? Like, what drives you?
Bringing people together and showing them that there's good in the world. letting coaches and players and people in general know that no one's story is not important. A lot of people think like, oh, nobody wants to hear my story, or nobody asks, so who cares? And so I think my favorite part of this is telling the stories, building the relationships, and I mean, really, it's having coaches and players that trust you, because normally the media and sports figures are separated except for press conferences, right? And with good reason. But when you can become friends with somebody and they can, and I'm gonna look at some people off the air here, but they can be the people that when you're going through something, they're there without question, and it has nothing to do with the job. There were coaches and players when I was going through my divorce, going through all these changes, they were literally just there. So, I would say my favorite part is building the relationships, creating the bonds, and having those people become friends, become family, becoming the people that trust you so much that they will tell you everything, knowing the things that they know you won't say. The people that don't have to go off the record. Right. I think it's building relationships that last a lifetime. The people that you hope to see in heaven. That's what I would say. And a lot of them are in this room.
Okay.
My next question for you: what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? I have so many.
Oh, God.
I have so many.
Funniest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. I feel like if you asked me this, there would be a lot of silence in the room because I know what's coming.
I was in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
and this is about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a large group of people that mistook me for Tony Stark. And
Where were you?
I was in Vegas. So I thought I was Robert Downey Jr.
So that's
And
awesome.
I went and got in this big picture with all of them, and they thought that I was Robert Downey Jr. and
That's great.
lived it up.
That's
There was like 30 of them. They were,
I like
they
that.
were so excited to see me.
I like that. Were they from overseas?
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
That's
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your next one for me?
Um,
And then we'll do a final one after that.
okay. What's your favorite sports memory?
Favorite sports memory? For me personally, it would probably be when I got MVP for basketball. So my friend growing up, he got like every award, and he was always a head taller than me. And I was on a team out in Marcellus, Camillus area, and we were in a summer league. And in the tournament, my team won the championship, and we did indoor and outdoor games, and outdoor is totally different. And so I had to like kind of alter my shot a little bit, and I won MVP. And in true fashion, the only time I won MVP, they spelled my name outrageously wrong. So I didn't get up right away because I was like, who's that guy? But yeah, I still actually have in my studio the trophy of that championship, because it's the one time where I got MVP, and I love the game of basketball. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
My final question for you: if you could live in a movie or TV world, fictitious or real, what world would you live in, and what character would you be? I would be in the Real Housewives.
I would.
Beverly Hills. I'm kidding.
I mean, honestly,
Joe, you don't watch that, do you? You do?
Yeah, it's real.
Based on Joe's face, I knew you watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kidding. She's serious. That's okay. It's not the Kardashians, though, right? Not okay.
So what was the movie that Jim Carrey played in? He was basically in his own show.
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show.
Yeah.
See, I am very vain,
Okay.
and I would like to be followed around like that
Okay.
and be my own show.
Okay. All right.
Joel Carpenter show.
All right.
That's what I want.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. All right.
I'm sure people that are watching out there that know me are going to be like,
yeah, the Joel Carpenter Show. All right. Well, Downtown with Dan allows you to do that a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your last one?
oh,
Anything in the world.
anything in the world.
Anything. If Bob was here, I know what he would ask me. If he was sitting up here, who yells at the refs more? No, I'll take that. If I was a coach, there's a right spot to get a technical.
Yeah.
I have talked to coaches about this. There's a right time to get a technical.
Right.
And because you have to let the official know that you're not a pushover, but then you also have to earn respect without becoming so excessive that they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
But there's a right time to get a technical.
It's strategic.
Yeah. And Bob can tell you at least 3 games where I would have gotten a technical. Gladly.
No.
Gladly. I think the jumping up in the air with a guy holding onto the basketball, coming down clean with the ball, and then passing it, and no travel being called with the official looking him in the face.
Yeah,
That was one, right?
it's a frustrating moment. I think.
Yeah. When they're egregious,
Yeah. Got to say something, right?
Every coach has their story.
Yeah.
Last one for me. What do you got?
Last one. If you weren't doing this,
Yes.
what you're doing, what would you be doing?
There's stuff that I want to do. So I'd be working in music. I would be working on screenwriting and acting, which I've gotten to do some acting. And I would be probably the next thing that's coming, and I injected into my show a lot. Isaac can speak for me on this. Comedy. Yeah, comedy. I have too many ex-girlfriend stories to not have a Netflix special. There's too much. There's no reason why I went through this if not to tell the story. That's what I know. That's what I know to be true. So with that being said, Downtown with Dan, this is the inaugural video here. This video series will be every single month exclusively downtown here at 317 at Montgomery. Got to try the food. Joel, tell them times that they can come down.
We're open for lunch Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 to 2. Dinner service starts at 5 Tuesday through Saturday, up until 9.
That coming from Joel Carpenter, the owner here, myself, Dan Tortora. Wake up call. We've had a fantastic event here. I got to go try the food. Before we do that, for the first ever Downtown with Dan, can we give Joel a round of applause, please? Joel, come on. And we will talk with you all soon. Thank you so much, Central and Upstate New York. You know I love you dearly. It's everybody that watches and listens all around the country and the world. I leave you with 3 things, as always. They're very important to me. God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon. Take care. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here. which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal, Studio 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside of their double-decker cafe on the corner of, or on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and in their drive-thru on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. And, of course, you can go to cafekubal.com if you're in the Southern Tier or wherever you are around the country. Speaking of the Southern Tier, this man that's picture-in-picture with me, well, we've done this a lot. And over the past couple of years, it now seems like we've been doing this thing for about, I feel like we've been doing this thing for like 20 years because we talk very often. And that is because we love to cover Maine-Endwell, and it's also because they continue to play. And the later that it gets in the year, they continue to get after it. They had the chance to get after their 7th state title here in New York State this season and to go to back-to-back state championships and win them. Well, they went to back-to-back state championships. They won back-to-back state championships, and they won their 7th state title. I knew it was going to happen because I put all my chips on the table in Vegas, and my chips were only blue and gold. So with that being said, the head coach of the champion Maine-Endwell Spartans, Matt Gallagher. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing good. And
That's good.
I told you this off the air that I had decided that you were winning because I had horses in the race. And you were the horse that was left. And I was going for all my horses. And then here's this horse that was left. And it's no offense to the team that you went up against or anything like that. We have a close relationship. I blame you for that. And so we have this opportunity for Maine-Endwell. And I said to my mom, because I had flown in late Saturday and, was home over the weekend. And I said to my mom, I was like, they got to do it. They got to do it. And you came through in a nail biter, 26-25. Ironically, 26-25 in your game the weekend before to bookend these moments. I was in Jacksonville covering my Jaguars, who won 28-27 in a 1-point game. So y'all, heart attack city, but you also both won your games. Bring me into how you saw this game from the sideline that was a heck of a lot closer than many, many of the games this season for Maine-Endwell.
Well, like as you have done quite frequently, you've sent me a bunch of texts, congratulating us and wishing us luck and things like that. But I would wish, with the foresight that you had, I wish you might have told us that we were definitely going to win beforehand, because we got a little hairy there for a while. So if I knew that you knew we were going to win, I would have felt a lot better the entire game. But no, but the kids just never gave up, and they rallied when they needed to. They responded when they needed to, and for the second year in a row, we played a great Pleasantville team that is well coached, and they do the right thing, and that's why they're there. And that's they won back in, I believe it was 2017, and now they're back 2 more years in a row. So when you're consistently getting to the state championship, you must be doing something right. So I think that's it's a tribute to them. And then when you can go out and you can whether it's a 1-point win or a 20-point win, if you can beat a team like that, you feel pretty good.
Yeah, and seeing this game go back and forth the way that it did, how do you have to coach in a game like this? What are the intricacies of finding your voice, when to push, when to tough love it all, when to just sit with the guys and say, hey, we got this? How do you speak your poetry as a coach in a game like this where there is so much going on? Do you change anything when a game is tight-knit and it's a state championship game? Does anything within you change, or your mannerisms or the way you go about something? Do you adjust anything, or do you stay the same?
I would definitely like to think that, I don't change but I think in all honesty, the closer the game, obviously the more focused you are, and I think that might be the way. And I think at times, when, you're ahead by a decent margin, that's when you might get after them a little bit more, because you don't want them or yourself to miss out on any of the smaller details that might later on down the road come back to haunt you. So I think that is kind of an important point. But at the same time, don't try to make the game bigger than it is, right? It's still a football game. I mean, I know it's in the dome. I know what it's for. But if you can try to just kind of go out there and let them know to go out and play the game like it's another game, rather than the game that it actually is, and sometimes it goes a little bit smoother. But we all know that it's not. That's definitely easier than easier said than done. That's for sure.
How do you feel your team handled their emotions in a game of this caliber? I mean, these are, and people forget this all the time, these are kids, these are teenagers. How do you feel they addressed the call to action of this game, the tightness of this game, and the weight of playing in a state championship?
Well, it's funny because I just was on the phone with Gary Crooks, and I don't know, I'm not sure you remember him, but he was we coached together for years, and he retired about 4 or 5 years ago, and we talk all the time, and he still helps us out, from down from Carolina, up from Carolina, I should say, and we were just talking about the fact that we really haven't had a tight game since last year's UE game, which we lost, and we kind of felt that during that game we maybe necessarily didn't do the things that we normally do, and we kind of as it didn't come together as much as we had hoped. And ever since that game, it really hasn't been like that. But at the same time, we really haven't had a close game to test it. But obviously you can't get much closer than yesterday. And we believe the kids really just kind of stuck together. They came together, and they responded when they needed to, and they made some big plays when they absolutely had to. So it was great to see, because everybody can be like, be really tight and excited and things like that when you win by 40 points. But when it comes right down to it, and it gets down to the nitty gritty, and it gets down to quick decision making, and a play going the wrong way here, a play going the wrong way there, not pointing fingers and not passing the blame. They didn't do that. They stuck together, and they did what they did all year long, and it was great to see that.
And you look at last season to this season, you talked about losing to Union Endicott, team that you played at the beginning of this season, and avenged that loss and defeated. 25 straight wins, 12-1 last year, 13-0 this season, so 25 straight. Your thoughts on streaks? Do you like them or dislike them? Because when they grow, they feel great, right? And then everybody says, when's the streak going to end? Can the streak continue? So do you feel any of that? The fact that you lost a game to start last season, won a state title, won a sectional title and a state title, didn't lose a game this season, won a state title and a sectional title, and will start next season on a 25-game winning streak?
Well, streaks are good because that means you're winning.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they do carry a burden. But once again, you try to look at it game by game, and then if you just look at it that way, then those numbers add up. And if you can do that, then I think that you are definitely more successful. The burden of the streak does not mount as quite as much. And once again, you try just not to make the game bigger than it actually is. And if you can try to do that somewhat, then I think that definitely helps not only the kids, but it helps the coaches, and sometimes it even helps the whole fan base, I think. So, but at the same time, you have to enjoy it. You have to appreciate your successes, and you have to celebrate those. And at the same time, when you're in the dome, it doesn't get much, as a better atmosphere than that. So hopefully it was great for the whole community yesterday.
That coming here from Matt Gallagher, the head coach of the Maine-Endwell Spartans football program, now winning their 7th state title and back-to-back state titles. And as we look at this and we look at this game, we go back and check it out here. You took a 7-0 lead in the second quarter. At halftime, only up by a point, 14-13. Pleasantville comes out of the half, goes up 19-14. Then your team scores 12 unanswered points to go up 26-19. And with less than 3 minutes left in the game, and looking at what was going on there, less than 3 minutes left, trailing by 1, Pleasantville does not convert on 4th down, and you seal the victory. Bring me into that 4th down attempt by Pleasantville.
Ooh. Well, unfortunately, it was 2 4th down attempts because there was a penalty on the play. So, that was tough. As far as feeling the joy of them not getting it, and then ended up seeing a flag. So, but once again, like I said, the boys stepped up when they had to. And the great thing about that, right after that penalty, it was just like, okay, let's just get back at it, and and that's what the kids did. And thankfully, they weren't able to convert. And then we had enough. They had no more timeouts, and the clock just, the amount of time left on the clock enabled us to kind of just run 2 plays and then kneel 1 out. So when you can, go into victory formation, it's a great feeling.
When you're in a game as tight as that, and you're able to go into victory formation, just what was going through you on the sidelines to know that this game was a battle all the way to those last few minutes, right, all the way till the end, and then that you could be in a game like that and get into victory formation. Because in one-point games, it's hard to get into position like that. Obviously, they got to lose their timeouts. You got to make some defensive stops. So just what that specific moment was like for you to get into victory formation in a game that was anybody's game throughout.
Ooh, that's a great feeling. We actually practice that that's the last thing that we do on our walkthrough. We always practice the victory formation, and we just try to finish off the whole week with that. And so when we know, and we always talk about, if we're in this formation, then good things are about to happen. So when we were able to do that, we were looking at the clock. We just had to make sure that we didn't snap the ball until under 40 seconds. And once that got under 40 and we snapped it, it was a pretty good feeling.
Matt, this moment, 7 times Maine-Endwell has been able to do this back-to-back years. It is not an easy thing to do once in a lifetime. It is not an easy thing to do once in 100 years. We've talked about it's not just Maine-Endwell football. It's not just athletics. It's the Maine-Endwell way. How much pride do you have being a part of this school and being a part of a history of excellence that, as you've told me before, is in the performing arts? It's on the courts, it's on the fields, it's in the classroom, it's in the community. You've told me it's everywhere. So what is it like for you, and what type of pride does that give you to have Maine-Endwell across your chest, and to know that when you step on a field or step into a grocery store or go to sit and watch a play or be in a classroom, that there's a certain way that Maine-Endwell goes, and it's been a very successful way?
An unbelievable amount of pride, and I know we've talked about it a little bit on your show, and I tell it to everybody. It's so hard to describe what it's about until you actually live it, and you can't, and you gotta be a part of it to really understand. As a teacher, as a coach, obviously, and then of course as a husband and a dad, or Julie, my wife, she's an administrator here. Our 3 boys went through here, so we are 100% Maine-Endwell through and through, and we couldn't be any more proud than that. It's tough to find anything in my closet that is not blue and gold. That's for sure. So.
And I love that, and I appreciate that. And in Pleasantville, you talked about it. They faced you in this state title game, faced you last year in the state title game. What can you say about your respect for their section and your respect for them and their coach? Because yes, you've won in these 2 bouts with them here, but at the same time, it says something about them that they got to the title game.
Well, yeah, that's the I think once again we didn't play a good team. Yesterday we played a good program, and I think that's a huge difference between teams that get there and then programs that get there consistently. And as I mentioned before, Pleasantville, this is the 3rd time in 5 years being there. So obviously they're doing things right down there, and I hope for their continued success. 99% of the time. But once again, if we face them, then we know that we're in the state title game. So if that happens again, then we'll be in good shape too.
And when we look at across the state of New York in all these different sections, when you look at Class B that Maine-Endwell is a part of, how would you describe the caliber of talent across the sections? Section 4 in multiple classes has shown a lot of success, but when we're looking strictly at Class B across all the different sections, you being in Section 4, what can you say about the level of talent at Class B?
Well, obviously, I think it really depends year to year, depending on, like I said, depending on teams, programs. Class B in Section 4 has been pretty successful. We've been fortunate enough to have some success, and obviously Shenango Forks has had continued success there too. So that in itself, makes Section 4 Class B relatively tough year after year. So, and then of course there's been some tough teams along the way too, you know, and from all the different sections. And then of course, you know, the state title games that we have, you know, with the guys on the other side, it's, you know, those are always battles. So, you know, there are, depending on the years, but for the most part, Class B is pretty tough.
Yeah, you know, and it's been an incredible road to see what you've done here and the level of success that Section 4 has had in Class D at Tioga, winning their championship, their state title as well. So congratulations to them. And just, I mean, it's been amazing to see this, Matt. You know, we've had a lot of conversations about a lot of different things, and I love it because you uplift me. There's conversations you have with people, and there's the conversations that give you the chills and make you want to be a better person when you get off the phone or get off the video. And I'm not saying this just to say it. I mean it. You know, every time I talk to you, I want to go out there, run through a wall, and be a better man. And so I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice. That's kind of leaves me speechless, and I appreciate that.
So, Matt, you've done well with answering all my questions. We do a thing on the show, as you know, called Rapid Fire. So I'm going to take myself and put myself very firmly on the hot seat, and I have my fire right here with my Witty Wicks candle, so the fire's right by me. I'm not going to put you on the hot seat. You can ask me any 3 questions in the world. I have to answer them whenever you're ready.
All right. Let's see. All right. What's your favorite holiday movie?
That's a good question. My favorite holiday movie. Okay, so if I'm thinking about my Christmas movies, one movie that I just bought and I went to multiple places to find it. I was on the plane and I'm like, oh, we got, you know, it's a direct flight. We got 2 hours plus. I'll see this movie. We land. They shut the movie off before it ended. And I was so pissed. And to the point where I had to go buy the movie. I found it at Target, $4.99, Love Actually. So
that's a good one. Yeah,
it is a good movie. But I would say my favorite Christmas movie. I found myself, and it's weird. It's like I'm a single guy. I've dated a lot of women that have incredibly funny stories that were terrifying when I was living them. And yet I'm a sap for romantic comedy. So I dated people that was like running through an asylum, but I actually like the movies that are the romantic comedies that like make you cry. And because I believe in love as much as I've seen every Circle of Hell. There's 8, not 7, Matt, if you're wondering, but I've seen them. I've seen them all. And yet I believe in love. So I mean, I like Love Actually, and I'll watch a bunch of those movies, but my favorites of all time are the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when it was claymation, and Home Alone. Those are mine.
Okay. Hey, Rudolph, that's the best. That's the best.
Yeah, I will. My mom tried to take it for me because it was on TV, and I genuinely, I love that movie. I will always love it.
And I would, because that's one of those ones that you circled it when it was in the TV guide and you knew it was on like on a Tuesday night and everyone sat down and watched it. Now you can watch it anytime you want. So it's not necessarily like a big treat, but it's still a great one.
Yeah. For those of us that remember TV guides and having to be in front of the television at that time.
Right.
Yeah. I love it. You missed it.
Right. Exactly. And that was a great family bonding time too. You know, everyone knew when it was. Snacks all over the place. It was great stuff.
Well, and that's why I think, that's why I know that I love these older movies more, because of the memories with my parents and my grandparents and my friends that came with those moments. And so I try to be good about it. Like when I was watching Love Actually last night and I thought I missed something, I was like, well, then you missed it. Like I didn't allow myself to rewind it because I said, I want you to deal with the fact that like you need to be paying attention like when you were a kid. So I will play it and I can rewind it at any time, but I won't let myself rewind it. I'm like, no, you missed it. You're going to have to watch it again. So that's what I do. What's your second?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
So I consider myself like a connoisseur of ice cream.
Okay.
At least. So when you go up to an ice cream stand, what do you order?
So I've worked, Carvel is my longest partner. and I've worked with corporate, and I've worked with Carvel DeWitt for 11 years. I love their stuff, and we're actually bringing a new Sunday to Carvel DeWitt that is my Sunday. So I can say that I've not only had one Sunday at Carvel, but I have now had two that are sold exclusively at Carvel DeWitt up here, which is insane. Because if you told me as a kid I was going to get my own Sunday, if you told my grandmothers, they would have went nuts. And my grandfathers too. So, and I appreciate it, and my parents do. And thank you to Jay Cartini and the team for that. So, I mean, if I was going up to Carvel DeWitt, it would be my Sunday because I spent a lot of time prepping this thing, but it would also be chocolate chip cookie dough because I love that. But if I was going up to like a stand somewhere and I just like was in some random town in North Carolina trying to find the country girl that I'll marry someday, I would go and get a dip. I gotta take a vanilla or a twist and have you dip it because I love like the flavor and that it breaks off. I think that's so cool. So I'd probably do that with some sprinkles, and I'd have to dip it in like something crazy, like bubble gum or like watermelon, like some type of flavor that's just out of your mind on top of chocolate and vanilla.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I also know, though, in Binghamton, though, they have like an oatmeal raisin ice cream, and I tried that in Binghamton before. It was really good. I forget the name of the place, but it was good.
Oh, okay. All right. That's not bad. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I mean, we've talked a lot about like it seems like basketball and football because that's probably because of Cuse and things like that. So, but what do you follow baseball? If you do, are you a Yankee fan, or what's your go-to there?
So I follow baseball now more than I used to, and my team, my actual team are the Diamondbacks, and I got my championship hat somewhere in here. But my actual
that hurts.
Why? Who are you a fan of?
Yanks.
Oh, okay. So I'll paint you the picture here. I had never been alive for one of my teams to win a championship, and it was 2001. And I was sitting with my dad on the couch, and my dad, Yankee fan, my grandfather, may he rest in peace, God bless you, Pop. He also a Yankee fan. And so my dad and I watched the game. He's sitting here. My mom's upstairs asleep. It's a little bit past 10 o'clock. He told me, like, there's no way. Like, you guys lost. Just accept it. And it was that feeling you get when you're like, oh, my gosh, we lost. And then I saw those these things that happened that I know as a broadcaster is game-changing. They put up the stat that Luis Gonzalez was 0 for 4. And then they showed his wife in the stands, and she was praying. And I was like, okay, I know something's going to happen. And then he hit it right over, put it midfield, got it over second base, sends a guy in. I threw my hat at my dad, yelled in his face, ran upstairs, terrified my mother, woke her out of a sound sleep. It's the first time I've ever had any team win a championship. Loved it. But I will tell you that when they're not playing my Diamondbacks, I love watching the Yankees and the Mets, and I love seeing them succeed. And I don't think that there should be a Mets without DeGrom, and I don't think there should be a Yankees without Judge. I think that if there is, there's so many problems in New York State. One of the major ones, besides gas prices, being that we don't have plastic bags. And on top of that, it's if the Mets lost DeGrom or if the Yankees, I can't fathom like watching a Mets game without Jacob DeGrom, and I can't fathom watching a Yankees game without Aaron Judge. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Right. So I struggle with that, and I support both, and I love going to see them. And I actually had been around a family last summer on Long Island where the family was split in half, and it was Mets and Yankees. And I love that because they like went at each other, but the games were always on, which I thought was really cool. Never seen the Subway Series up close. I would like to, but yeah, I can't deal with if the Mets and the Yankees, I don't like that world where I think their guys need to stay, and I feel like they need to build, and I feel like they've made the Mets real and made the Yankees real again. So Yeah, I definitely, for being a Diamondback that sympathizes with the Yankees and the Mets, I pay a lot of attention. And Aaron Judge, if George Steinbrenner was alive, he would have been paid 3 months before the season started. Instead, we have the stupidity of today, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be a crushing blow to the Yankee faithful if he doesn't sign.
Yeah, I think it needs to happen. And so I know I said I wouldn't put you on the hot seat, but I have to ask you these in closing. Number one, favorite Yankee moment of all time. Number two, it's three. Favorite Yankee moment of all time, favorite Yankee now, and favorite ice cream.
That's a tough one. First one. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I think you kind of brought it up when you look back and you think about certain things that it brings back the memories with it.
Yeah.
Chris Chambliss' home run was that that was huge. And that was because I was we always watch Yankees. I'm one of seven, and the three oldest in my family are all my brothers. And then my two sisters, me, then my sister. And they, we always watch the Yankees, and they're 6, 7, 8 years older than me. My brothers are. So that was when they were in high school, but I was still a young guy, but watching it with them. And I just, I do remember that, and I just remember that, because that's one of those things that, the Yankees were on TV all the time, and WPIX, right? That's when Notre Dame football kind of ruled the television as well. But I think that probably was one of the top moments. Of course, the Bucky that home run and things like that. But I don't know, for some reason, I think the memories that go with the Chris Chambliss home run is probably what ties that in there.
Okay.
I think. And the second one was my favorite Yankee now.
Mm-hmm.
Judge, definitely. Okay. I just love the way he plays the game, and he's home. I just think that he should be the next captain. And that's of course obviously Jeter, and but he Bobby Mercer was my big time favorite when I was growing up, and but I definitely think Aaron Judge now, yes.
Okay. And I do want to make a note here that I said I can't see it without it, but obviously I have to see the Mets without DeGrom. They have Verlander now, but
yeah,
that's heartbreaking. It's so wrong that it can't be right. And that's how I feel about it. And I'm just mad about it. And I know I said repeatedly that I can't see it, but I have to see it because it's what it is now. But favorite ice cream, make me feel better. Give me an ice cream flavor.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm just a straight up twist guy.
Okay.
And because I like to taste just to see how good the ice cream actually is. Nothing's covered and nothing's masking it. And I just think straight up vanilla and chocolate twist. I used to be much all chocolate, but I think that the mixture of both of them really allows you to taste the ice cream and see how it is.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And it has to be, dense, heavy, cold ice cream. And there's a difference. There is a difference.
No, there is. And I'm with you on that. Like if I go somewhere, my test is the twist. Because if you do that wrong, then you shouldn't make ice cream. And it's my same thing. If I go to a pizza shop, I've never
right.
a cheese slice. And if you screw up cheese, shut it down. Just shut it down. Don't make anything again.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's a place in New York City that was like, it was like 2-for-1 cheese slices, and they sold tacos. And you can't do both. Now, I'm Hispanic and Italian, so I will eat both and I will make both. But you don't, if you're a pizza shop, you can't put tacos on the outside of your business. And if you're a taco joint, you can't be like also pizza. And I will say this, and this is no disrespect to anybody in the Chinese buffet industry, but if you go to a Chinese buffet and you even attempt, not even attempt, if you think about attempting to eat a piece of their pizza, you should lose your card of eating pizza for the rest of your life. And if you say it's pretty good, you're not allowed to speak to me for the rest of your life.
I'm with you on
I
that.
a relationship over that. My ex.
I'm with you.
What'd you say?
I'm actually with you on that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
My ex-wife was like, the pizza wasn't that bad in the Chinese buffet. And yes, she is my ex-wife, but I should have probably gotten a divorce very earlier than that. I mean, I waited a couple of years. I should have done it during the dating phase. And she goes, why don't you try the pizza? And I said, let me ask you a question. If you went to a pizza shop and they were selling sushi, would you get it? No. So, you have to know what good things are. And pizza shops are pizza shops, period. It's not a pizza shop that sells tires and tacos. You can't do that. And if you're selling tires in a pizza shop, that's a mob thing. And then you don't ask questions. And that's just kind of like you go for what you need. You never go to the back door. But I will tell you, there's a bakery, and I won't name it, but it's in New York. It's in the state of New York. I won't say if it's upstate or downstate. There's a bakery that I'm convinced to this day, and I go there all the time, that if I went and I touched a certain donut and pulled on it, the door would spin and there would be an underground mob area. I really believe it. I do. I want to be right about it, but also best donuts that I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's not even close. And people tell me about, I went to New York City. I went to Little Italy off of Canal Street. I ate a cannoli there. Not better than here.
Really?
It wasn't. And I think that people think that our pizza doesn't hold up to New York City. To me, it does. It depends on where you're at, but there's pizza shops that hold their weight. Now, if you leave the state of New York,
yes,
and you think that pizza is good anywhere else, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
That's in Pennsylvania. I love y'all. Florida, the water's different. Pennsylvania, there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of words, but a state that believes that Cheese Whiz is the only cheese should not make pizza. And I love Pennsylvania, but your pizza is terrible. I'm sorry, it is. We know that.
Yes, it is. And the entire state is terrible.
It is, and it doesn't
of pizza, not the state itself, but of pizza.
No,
right.
There's other things that they can do. Right? Get a good snowball.
Yes.
Throw it at Santa. They're good at that. Right? Making
that is true. Sadly, yes.
Making other things. They're good at that. Florida is good at beaches and seafood. But I've never been down in Florida and said, hey, you know what I want? A slice of pizza. I just sit there and say, I'm going to enjoy my vacation, and I can't wait to go home to get some real, authentic, salt of the earth. Thank God I was born in the state of New York. Pizza.
Yeah. And is that like a once a week thing?
If I'm, I mean, I think it's hard for me, and I value healthy mind, healthy body. So I value, getting out there, getting your cardio. So I know that if I'm going to eat pizza, I got to be moving. But yeah, I mean, I could eat pizza every week. We used to do Friday pizza night. It was like the one night my mom didn't cook. And on Friday night, we would go out because my mom cooked all the time. So, yeah, I mean, once a week, once every 2 weeks, I could eat pizza, probably. Are you that way or no?
Oh, I could eat pizza every night, I think. Pizza and hamburgers. I eat pizza and hamburgers.
There's cold pizza in the house. Like, I don't care if it's cold. I don't care what. I mean, I am about pizza all the time. And I make my own pizza at home. So, yeah. I'm all about, I make white pizza with the rigot underneath, the different types of cheese, maybe put some chicken or pepperoni on top, a little Dunkin' sauce on the side, homemade sauce. I make barbecue chicken pizza. And I'm going to make a fig and pig one. I'm going to do the fig with the prosciutto one. I am going to do that eventually. Because those are good. Those are very good. So
you're a big time cook, huh?
I try to be. You know what? I feel like somebody should wife me up already, but nobody's done it. So, but it's, I mean, I definitely like to cook. I find it weird because I know stereotypes are that men don't cook, women do. But when I meet a woman in dating and she tells me that she doesn't cook, I'm like, I can't be with this woman for the rest of my life, because I do cook, but I like cooking with somebody. Like, I like the art of cooking. So to know that like I'm going to be cooking for the rest of my life by myself, I'm like, why not just stay single and save some money, you know? How I feel about it. But a lot of stuff got exposed on today's show. I'm okay with it.
Yes.
Don't mind it. Matt Gallagher, myself, Dan Tortora. He's won a lot of championships. I've pissed off a lot of women. Pizza's been amazing. So, Matt, as always, thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing you in the Southern Tier very soon.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Syracuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5, Camillus.
This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you, fall 2022.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, as well as on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location. You can tune in Monday through Friday to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I thank everybody who does from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com /LiveNowDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage. Once the shows go live, you can pop into the archive and check them out there. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora at any one of these locations, including searching Wake Up Call DT. So it's Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or Wake Up Call DT is one word, and you will find us on all of these outlets. Thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, Cafe Kubal, Carvel, DeWitt, as well as the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Honda City of Liverpool, Chick-fil-A Watertown, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, 317 at Montgomery Street, who you heard from today, and Pizza Man. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Every first and third Wednesday of each month, you get AD and DT featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, you get the Dolphin Dive featuring student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And you can catch all of those stories in the giant body of water that we have where all of our Dolphins swim on the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as by subscribing to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt. Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We got a double dose coming up for you as I was out of town this past week and we did a Dolphin special. We'll have an AD and DT and a Dolphin Dive together this Wednesday and give you something truly great coming from Adam Zakowski as well as Bob Beretta this week. Get more information on Dolphins by going to LeMoyneDolphins.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are also exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Check out the Bobcat Buzz happening every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can get all of our content with the Bobcats by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com and subscribing to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt for our stories with student athletes, coaches, and administration of the Bryan and Stratton Syracuse Bobcats. You can get all of that and more. Each month, we underpromise, overdeliver, bringing you men's basketball, women's basketball, men's and women's soccer, as well as the inaugural baseball team and season coming up. So many great things happening at Bryan and Stratton on James Street. And, of course, for more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show today. And as you've seen in the studio here, changed my garb a little bit, as I have some big things coming up after the show. A lot of great stuff to share with you this week. Can't wait to do it. Big shout out to Julian Whigham, Syracuse Orange royalty in my book, as well as 317 at Montgomery for our first edition of Downtown with Dan, a video series that's going to happen every single month exclusively downtown on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York, at the restaurant 317 at Montgomery. Truly different taste, truly different experience. Get yourself out to 317 this week and every week, Tuesday through Saturday. Don't miss out on the opportunity to support local at 317 at Montgomery. And thank you for an incredible Christmas party and VIP event that we got to put on for Dan Tortora Broadcast Media last night. Thanks to Natalie and Joel and the whole team there. Maine-Endwell has won another state championship, and you just heard from Matt Gallagher. Big thanks to him. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', so make sure you head out to Monpaz, get your holiday tin, and fill it up right. Have price refills for the rest of your life. Wake Up Call is on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. From the Cafe Kubal Studios, you are amazing, and I look forward to talking with you soon. I send you all my love, my prayers, and well wishes. Please get better, get well, and stay well. And God bless, no stress, do your best. Thanks to everybody that has supported me on the way to where I am. Thank you to God most of all. And thank you to everybody who hasn't supported me on the way to where I am. You've only made me get here better.